This month's Iran Case File report examines the following three areas: domestic, Arab, and international affairs. Each area is subdivided into files reflecting key developments that have taken place over the month of November. Domestic affairs. Iran's Minister of Foreign Affairs revealed rampant money laundering in Iran, which triggered massive controversy. Iran is redeploying its warplanes on its eastern border, sensing a high risk of increased activity by armed groups, and it is expecting Syrian opposition fighters to retaliate against it from Afghan territory. The guardianship of the Islamic jurist is facing a crisis, as it is opposed by some clerics from within the Hazwa, as well as political activists, such as Al-Bofazl Qadiani, who have issued critical statements against it. Iran's Ministry of Petroleum sold to a few private sector buyers 700,000 barrels of oil out of 1 million barrels offered on an internal exchange since 28th of October, and at a price below the market price. Iran's oil exports declined in November. US sanctions have contributed to a decline in the volume of international trade and foreign transactions of the Central Bank of Iran. Iran's unemployment rate is up to 60% among educated youth and 73% among young women, and the inflation rate is almost at 40%. Iran's hardliners have continued to block Iran's entry into the Anti-Money Laundering Treaty to pressure the Europeans to create an alternative financial system with Tehran. Arab affairs. In Iraq, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Iraq refused the demands of the American embassy to demobilize and disarm Shiite militias. The Iraqi Prime Minister, Adil Abdul Mahdi, refused US unilateral sanctions against Iran. The Iraqi President, Barham Salih, visited Iran and Saudi Arabia to exchange views on matters of mutual interests. The Saudi Minister of Energy visited Baghdad to investigate the possible linkage of electrical grids between the two countries to cover Iraq's electricity needs. In Syria, the Israeli newspaper Jerusalem Post revealed that the Syrian regime is granting citizenship to Lebanese Hezbollah and IRGC fighters. The United Nations Special Envoy for Syria declared the 11th round of peace talks in Astana on finding a political settlement to the Syrian crisis had failed. In Yemen, the Houthis' influence has diminished on the ground, in Al-Hudaydah and Sadr particularly, and a split is apparent in their ranks. New evidence proved the support provided by Iran after the death of several Hezbollah experts in Yemen. In addition to that, Iran received a delegation from the Houthis at the International Islamic Unity Conference held in Tehran. International affairs. The second round of US sanctions on Iran came into effect on November 4. The Iranian government claimed that US sanctions are part of Washington's economic war strategy aimed at subjugating the Iranian state. The United States has excluded China, India, Greece, Italy, Japan, South Korea, Turkey and Taiwan from the embargo on the purchase of Iranian oil. China has rejected the second round of US sanctions on Iran and promised to stabilize oil purchases from Iran. US sanctions targeted 5 individuals linked to Hezbollah for their activities in favor of the Iranian government. The US National Security Advisor threatened Iran's government with more pressure and restrictions. US sanctions targeted an international network by which Iran, in cooperation with a number of Russian companies, provided support to the Assad regime, as well as to the Al-Quds forces, Hamas and Hezbollah. Europe failed to provide an alternative financial system to continue its transactions with Iran. Despite European promises to help Iran, President Hassan Rouhani admitted his country's economy is suffering from sanctions.